Scotland is an ancient land. Its rugged hills, dark lochs and mossy stones have many a strange tale to tell to those who are not afraid to listen. We're standing in the shadow of the crumbling, battle-weary ruin that is Lochmaben Castle. Surrounding the castle, some beautiful, evocative woodlands full of mystery within which there are many dark stories to share.
A few years ago, the Mostly Ghostly team and myself came to Lochmaben Castle. We did a midnight investigation just round about the castle and round about the area, and it was about, I think it was just after midnight, or just no far off after midnight, I decided to go and walk into the castle again. So I walked into the castle and I was just walking in normal, and this time I sensed there was a presence in the castle. My hairs on my neck and everything all totally raised as if there was something else in that castle. And I was right. Right in front of there was notice boards down at the bottom on the fence, white notice boards. And what I saw was a figure of a boy or a child anyway, went right across in front of the notice boards, and you could make it out perfectly as a child. And it just went past all these notice boards and it just disappeared again, and then everything went back to normal again. It's just like it was wanting me to see the person or the boy there in front of these notice boards.
The legend of a vampire at Lochmaben Castle has its origins buried way back in the 12th century AD, when the chronicler William of Newburgh wrote of strange and horrifying events at the castle of Anantis. Now, there are different schools of thought as to where that castle might be. It may be in Northumberland, or alternatively it might be a lot closer to home at Annan. Now, our story begins with a Yorkshireman, a rather wicked Yorkshireman, said to have an evil way about him. It was said that he had fallen foul of the law on so many occasions, and when they were trying to catch up with him, he fled across the border up here into Scotland, where he sought refuge at the castle of Anantis. Rather than using this as an opportunity to reform himself and start afresh, his deviant ways continued. He married a woman, and so then his troubles truly began. He was a very jealous man, and he was not a particularly loving husband, and he feared greatly that his wife had taken a lover, and he hatched a plan to try and catch his wife well and truly in the act. He told one of the maid servants that he was going away for a few days. Well, in actual fact, he was coming back the very same night, and she would sneak him back into his lady's bedchamber, where he hid up high on a beam. And of course, when her husband left, the first thing she did was get word to her lover, and of course he came to meet her, and they fell into a passionate tryst. Little did she know that her husband was watching the whole sordid scene unfolding. He was absolutely incensed. He was so furious. He was almost spitting with rage when he fell from the beam and landed on the floor, cursing his wife to hell. Her lover, not being particularly chivalrous, disappeared, leaving her to face the music. And more through cunning than concern, she attended to her injured husband and said it was all a hallucination. He'd been overtaken by some dreadful fever. What happened next, however, played right into his wife's hands. He fell to the ground once more, and his body gradually became more rigid He had a pallor about him, and within a very short time, a monk was called to attend to this man. He was so close to death, and within just a few short hours, death's icy grip had truly enfolded him. The end of his life, his earthly life, perhaps, but not of his story. Now the terror begins. The figure, the corpse, whatever you choose to call it, began to rise from the grave each night and would be seen in the town, chased by a pack of slavering dogs. The villagers were terrified, refusing to leave their homes between sunset and sunrise. Many fled to escape because this creature was not just terrifying them by being there. It is said that this revenant, this ghost walking, had brought with it the plague. The town was devastated, and many had left, leaving those few remaining to deal with the tragedy that was unfolding at such a horrendous pace. 2 young brothers joined a banquet on Palm Sunday that was held by the monks. The monks were desperate to find a solution to this rather curious issue, and deadly it was too. As the evening went on, the brothers encouraged each other to take drastic action. They had lost their father, their very own father, to this plague, this pestilence, and they were filled with a desire for vengeance. They snuck off from the banquet and made their way towards the cemetery, armed with a spade, and they started to dig. It was going to be a long night, or so they thought, but they got the shock of their own lives when they discovered the Yorkshireman's body swollen and bloated in a rather shallow grave and looking a wee bit too healthy for someone who has lain beneath the ground as long as he had. They were horrified by the sight. But one of the brothers lifted up the spade and half closed his eyes as he brought it down on the man. And all these jets of seemingly fresh blood began to issue from the wound. The men scrambled from the grave, and just to be sure, they dragged his body to the periphery of the town. They took a stake and stabbed him through the heart once more, and then they removed what remained and threw him on a funeral pyre. They knew themselves that what they had done was not right. It did not feel comfortable, but somehow it felt as if it was their only option. And that is the story of the vampire that apparently followed the Bruces from their castle in Annan right here to Lochmabben.
Many years ago, a young man had an extraordinary experience near Lochmabben. As he was crossing the old Drive Bridge beside the old Drivesdale Cemetery, he happened to look to his right, and here he saw a tall, white, ghostly figure. As it was surrounded by a white halo, the phantom looked distinct. The terrified young man was overcome with fear, and he watched in disbelief as the phantom stopped, suddenly drew back, and quietly disappeared. The terrified young man ran home to tell his family at what he experienced, which naturally caused a bit of a sensation in the neighbourhood. It turns out that numerous ghosts have been seen near the old Drive Bridge, and many apparitions have been seen at the Drysdale Cemetery.
There's a footpath that goes from the castle down to the loch, and we all went down the path which goes past the bird hide, and I felt something strange, sort of a feeling, a kind of sense of presence, for want of a better word. And we went past the bird hide towards the edge of the loch. Now Kathleen and Mary left me at the seat. However, I felt as if I was directed further along, and we came to what I call a field. It is like a field next to the loch. And when I got on that field, I could actually sense and see men, women and children running about, mostly women and children. Some of the men were on horseback. The same people going backwards and forwards all the time. And with it I got the feeling as well. They seemed to be without any reason, these people going backwards and forwards. Every now and again the horses would come and the people would run away. Now, eventually, with the feeling I had, this would fade away gradually. I was quite annoyed. I was wanting to bring this feeling back again. I wanted to see the women and the children walked about this field quite a lot, trying to pick up this same feeling. But unfortunately, I couldn't. So we went back. I went back and met Kathleen and Mary and told them what had happened. However, whatever had been with me before was now even stronger. I could feel it in the base of my stomach. Walked back to the castle and this feeling got even stronger. I was certain that somebody was following me. Eventually, when we got to the castle, this feeling disappeared.
And now, let me formally introduce you to the fabulous, mostly ghostly.
I'm Kenny.
I'm Kathleen.
I'm Mary.
I am John.
And we are mostly ghostly. I've been interested in ghosts ever since I was a wee girl at primary school, and I had a group at school called Spirit World, and we used to meet in the playground and tell each other stories. They were generally made up, but the fascination for storytelling had truly begun. And as an adult, I met lots of interesting people, of course, and I came across John and Mary, John at the cinema and Mary through college, and discovered that they shared my enthusiasm for the paranormal, the supernatural. And we used to talk about all the amazing places here in Dumfries and Galloway, the sorts of places that we would love to research and to get to know better, and indeed the many stories that were waiting to be told that had not been discovered yet, that were as yet unpublished. And that kind of led to us coming together and becoming mostly ghostly. And in the years, of course, that have followed, we've been very lucky to meet Kenny, and it's been better than ever, so we're thrilled.
You never know what you're going to expect, and certainly not the experiences I've had since I've joined Mostly Ghostly. But I think looking back, when you go into research anywhere you go to, you've got to look at the history, and it's fascinating. I really enjoy that part of it as well, and of course the things that you pick up when you're there. I love it, and sharing it with the rest of the team as well. It's really good, yeah.
So it's not all about just finding ghost stories, is it? It's about deeper history.
Yes, I always think if you go to an old castle, there's always something about it that leaves its trace. And I find that the supernatural is very intriguing. I mean, I feel that, how can that happen? But it does. I always think that part of you lives on. And it's quite comforting to think that. Some of your loved ones, you think that they're still there watching over you.
We were very lucky to become tourism champions for Dumfries and Galloway Life magazine back in 2012 and 2014. We won the Outstanding Tourism Business Award in Dumfries and Galloway in 2022. More recently, the Culture Champion as well with Dumfries and Galloway Life, and we've had lots of nominations and reached the finals for these awards over the years too. And it's always something that you kind of pinch yourself, because you can't quite believe it. When we started out, this wasn't even a thought in our minds about doing tours. We just wanted to research and find out and share. But we've found a way of doing it that hopefully helps to fly the flag for tourism here in Dumfries and Galloway as well.
We never get tired of seeing the guests' reaction when they go into places such as the crypt. It really is. It makes it all worthwhile, I think. Yes.
I mean,
for
it's
me.
lovely to meet people and lots of different people and forge strong connections. Some of them have become, the guests on our tours have become really close friends as well, which is just amazing. And you walk up the street and you bump into people all the time that you know, and they've been to one of the tours and they want to have a chat about it. And everybody takes something quite different away from the experience, and it's just the delight on people's faces. And sometimes a wee bit of spookiness going on in the background as well, we cannot deny it. But generally it's just that really nice, friendly, approachable atmosphere that we try and create, and we think that's one of the things, one of the reasons maybe why people come back to, because they know they can enjoy the ghost stories in the safety and warmth of that friendly kind of atmosphere, and I think that's what works for us. We've created a wide range of tours and events across Dumfries and Galloway, exploring the darker side of history, ghost stories, legends and folklore. And if you'd like to find out more, please check us out at Mostly Ghostly Tours on Facebook. And remember, Scotland is mostly ghostly.